And we are live. Hello there. Greetings, Earthbound travelers. Welcome to today's episode of Will of the Dice Presents Cast Guidance, where we sit around and talk tabletop RPG shit. I am Tyr the DM, the world's okayest DM. And with me, as always, is Loch Clark, the unruly one. Hi, Loch.
Hi, gamers. How's it going today?
Before we get started, we do have some announcements to make. First and foremost, we are for mature audiences only. If you're not part of the mature audience, you may want to leave because you might get offended. Honestly, you might get offended if you stay. So, proceed with caution. You travel ahead at your own risk. Secondly, we are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with any TTRPG creators, publishers, or any of that. We're just two individuals giving our questionable opinions. Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hit them with the dice.
All right, here we go. Hi, gamers. I'm Loch Clark, as previously stated, and I'm here to talk to you today about our partners in this endeavor, Level Up Dice, fine purveyors of luxury dice for all your sexy dice needs. And today, I want to talk to you about the one-shot that I'm running on Sunday. And the dice that I'm going to use in that one-shot. These are Level Up's caged aluminum dice. I don't know how well it plays on camera here, but they are CNC'd. The D4 is a work of amazing genius. Like, it barely... Alright, so the cage... So I can get my camera to focus on it. The cage and the die part on the inside are two separate pieces, and they move. And like the D4, the tolerances for it to stay inside there are just minuscule. It's so tiny. Like, it looks like the inside is going to fall out of the cage. It doesn't, but I'm constantly in awe of the D4. So that said, you should go through our portal, because that makes us look good, and go check out their site. Go check out just all of their caged aluminum dice. The particular set that I'm using are the H. Quinn cage set. They are black, red, and silver, with silver numbers. But check out all the sets. Find your favorite color. Unfortunately, the H. Quinn set is sold out right now, but this is what I'm going to be using. They're great. They have a nice solid feel, but they also get that sort of... I don't know if my mic will pick it up. No, I don't think it will. That looks real good on camera, Lock. They make a nice, like, jingly sound when you roll them too, which is nice. So go over to our portal, which is https://bit.ly/L, D, Will of the Dice, all one word. That's bit.ly/LUD, Will of the Dice. Go check it out and find yourself some nice new dice. Also, I'd like to thank the person who provided the music theme song for our show. That is our very own Patrick Taylor. Thanks, Pants!
Thanks, Pants. Awesome. Some more information for you guys, announcements, however you want to make it. We have our own Twitch channel now. You're going to see us streaming video games. You're going to see some one-shots. You're going to see a lot of content coming in the next couple of months. What you need to do is go over and go ahead and follow that channel so you'll know when we go live. And that's twitch.tv/Will of the Dice, all one word. Go check it out. Go give us a follow. Also, we now have Pants in the store.
Pants!
So you can check those out at willofthedice.com/shop. Get yourself a pair of pants. Oh, how the hell are you, Loch?
I'm awake and I have coffee. That's how I am. And I'm using my hyped up radio voice so that I sound awake.
Today's episode is brought to you by the word fuck, because that's how I feel. Fuck. But this is part of my favorite part of the week, and I didn't want to miss it. So here. Let me just throw shit up in front of Lock so people can't see
Hey,
this.
hey, hey, get that out of here. Um, yeah, I had a night of little sleep and then overslept my alarm because I didn't get to bed until late and then scrambled to be here. But we made it.
We are
Um,
here.
and we have a topic and everything, although, as you said, today feels like a cast tangent sort of day, so this could go anywhere. Who knows?
Yep.
Speaking of going anywhere, I'm going to go ahead and tease, if you don't mind.
Tease me, Lock.
As I said during during talking about level ups dice, I'm running a one shot on the stream on Sunday night in our usual time slot, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. And I'm going to be using those caged aluminum dice during that one shot exclusively. That's what I'm going to use. Mostly because I don't want Ustad to feel bad if I kill somebody like with his dice. That'd be uh, so. Yeah, so I've created an entire homebrew campaign world that I'm running in. I'm going to give some sneak peek about what my world looks like at the end of the show. So, audience, if you have questions about my homebrew world, anything you want to know about it, I'll tell you anything about the world at the end of the show. So, start thinking of your questions and have them ready for the end.
Very cool. Storytelling devices. That's what we're here to talk about today. Such a heavy topic for such a day of no sleep.
This is the M. Night Shyamalan episode.
M. Night Shyamalan.
It's a twist.
The twist. Okay, hold on 1 second. They're asking me to put the link to the new channel in chat. Let me make sure I got it right.
Unky Tyr, tell us a story.
Once there was this kid who... And we
Got
don't want to get
into
sued.
an accident and then we got sued, yeah.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about storytelling devices from a DM, GM, storyteller standpoint. There's a lot of different things you can use. One of my favorites is the plot twist, where things are going along and the party thinks, hey, we figured this shit out, and then out of nowhere, boom, something else happens. As Locke can attest, I am good at the plot twist.
He is. He really is. I got to give him full credit. Like, he has blindsided me on more than one occasion.
And the hard part is making sure that it makes sense. That when all the pieces connect together and the plot twist hits, that it makes sense. That's the hard part. That you're not just throwing a plot twist for the shit of throwing a plot twist. How do you do that?
You want to go first?
Go
Okay. For me, a good plot twist, you knew about far enough in advance. Use the storyteller as the DM guiding the story. You knew what was going to happen, and you made sure that in retrospect, looking back on what's happened, that makes sense. That's the key to a good plot twist. It has to make sense. You have to look back at all the evidence you had before the twist happened and be able to see how you got there. Otherwise, you're like, oh, wait, what? What just why did that happen? That doesn't make any sense with but everything we knew told us that they wanted this. Like, so that's laying the breadcrumb trail in a subtle enough way for your players not to realize that that's where the trail leads, for them to think that the trail leads somewhere else. And then, does that make sense? Am I being cogent?
You're being cogent. Cogent 5x5. Yeah, and that's when I'm setting down, like, if I'm going to use a plot twist, I have that factored in from the beginning. And then if you guys figure out, and then, I will drop breadcrumbs. And if you guys figure it out, then, well, there won't be a plot twist. But if you don't, then I get to hammer you with it. But when I'm designing my games, I put the plot twists in as I'm designing it. That way I can work around having that set there, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want... I mean, I think it's always important to know what your bad guy is doing. What their plan is, what their goal is. I know when I planning my one-shot, which is not going to be a one-shot. It's a 5-shot, but that's beside the point. It's a mini arc, but it's each episode is encapsulated. So like, episode 1 is, and I'm thinking of them cinematically. Like, episode 1 is this heist story, and I know why the bad guy is doing what the bad guys are doing. That's like, I understand their motivations and where they want to go, and I know how there are pieces of the puzzle along the way, or pieces of the puzzle is not the right word. There are events in the story along the way that if the players do X, then the bad guys get or don't get this thing, and then that may change what the bad guys are doing. It may accelerate a timeline. It may slow down a timeline. Like, you have to know what the bad guy's plan is, and you have to know what the variables are, and where each of those, and when the players do something that you weren't expecting, or do something you wanted them to do, even sometimes you have to know what that triggers and what that does to the world and to the bad guy's plan. Like, that's the biggest thing, is understand, as a DM, is understanding what the bad guy's doing, what their motivation is. When you're setting up a story arc, and if that's a whole campaign long story arc, or if it's just the first 7 levels of the character's story arc,
And then for me with the campaign, I try to make sure that each of the backstories gets incorporated.
Yeah.
So it's multiple story arcs within a larger story arc. So I feel like Exhibit on Pimp My Ride. We heard you like story arc, so we put a story arc inside your story arc so you can enjoy the story arc,
Right. Yeah, and and you do a great job at that. Like, trying to think, like, there's we're only just now getting Zaraj backstory stuff, because we've gotten to her homeland, but everybody else, even if we haven't gone and done their hardcore backstory stuff, like, you've hit their backstories already. You've punched them in the face once or twice. along the road, and so we've got a little taste of everybody's backstory, having been a stone thrown into the pond of our adventure. Some of us have gotten to go and sort of fulfill our backstory, which is great because it's very freeing. You're no longer. I was saying last night, I'm off book now. Like everything that I wrote for Karak and had planned for Karak has happened, so now I don't have a plan anymore, which is wonderful. It means that the character can grow in ways that I haven't thought of yet. We'll see what happens.
The only thing that, okay, I'm a mixed emotions on what's about to happen with Dandy's story arc. I'm not going to give anything away, but I, as a DM, am excited as fuck for about what's to happen. As a person, the amount of death threats I'm about to receive is going to suck. But when Alice created Dandy, and I asked, what is your goal for this character? They said, I want them broken. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So remember when writing your death threats to Tyr because of the fuckery he is doing to your favorite little dandelion. Remember that he's doing it with consent, and he's doing exactly what she asked for. What the player asked for the character. So don't be too hard on him.
Other storytelling devices. What else we got? We got the plot twists. You got to leave clues when you're telling the story. You've got to find a way to disseminate information to your players, and that can be difficult.
Yeah. There's a lot of like little things you can do. There's a lot of ways to get information, and some of them are tropey as fuck. But sometimes you got to roll with the tropiness. I'm having trouble thinking of examples because I've been so living in my own campaign world.
Well, a lot of the ways that you guys were able to get information disseminated to you was through research in libraries and interactions with other individuals. You've had gods interact with you. Mordred Nighthawk showed up and interacted with you to help you put the pieces of the big puzzle together. The little pieces that still on how to get from point A to point B are still sort of jumbled up, and what point A and point B looks like. But it's tropey as fuck to have the gods show up and talk to you. It is. It's tropey as fuck to have the hero that wrote this journal show up and talk to you. But giving that what's going on is unprecedented and only few people know. It's hard to have like some wise sage be like, oh, well, this is what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
as far as as Darkened Queen and Shadowed Rose and Sounds of Oblivion are concerned, dissemination of information, I had to go tropey as shit. And it hurt my soul a little bit, to be honest with you, but I had to.
Right.
I'd much rather have other ways.
You've done it in smart ways, though. You've done it in ways that felt earned most of the time. Like, we've got... and that's one thing. You got to look at your party as a DM and see what... what does the party have? What is the makeup of the party? How... if you got a warlock in your party, you can use their patron to give them information. You got a cleric in the party, you can use their prayers to their deity to give them information. If you've got, look at your character's backgrounds. That is one of the things that I wish D&D made it more prominent on the character sheet. it's really easy to find when you're editing the character sheet, but when you're just looking at the character sheet, that information doesn't just pop up. What background you chose and what that gives you isn't in the D&D Beyond character sheet easily, and that's something that I think they could fix. Because me as a DM, knowing what your background is, what you chose for your background, it's a big deal. It means something, like one, it gives you an ability, and two, it gives you story hooks. It gives you like what kind. It gives you the in Vampire the Masquerade. You had in place of alignment, they had crap. The one I was trying to get to is demeanor, but then the other one was can't think of what they called it. Nature. Your nature and your demeanor. So, nature is how you really are. Demeanor is what you show to the world. And those two, having an adjective for each of those traits is really informative about your character. Better than neutral good. In my opinion. But and that's what I think. That's what background is in D&D. It tells you something about your nature or demeanor. Sometimes both. It's very informative to the character. So yeah, that's knowing those things about your characters. Like, okay, so and so, is it Ellie? Yeah, Ellie has a criminal background. Because Ellie can navigate through the city faster because of their criminal background, from being a street urchin. Actually, I don't know. She may have the criminal or she may have the urchin background, and I'm not sure which one it is. But, like, that's a cool mechanic for her that she uses every time we're in a city. But Tyr could also turn around and take that, take that information and have the local criminal organization in the town make contact and pass a message or drop some info or something. Like that's something that you can use as a DM to tell us, or to tell your players something they need to know is, look at their background. What do they have? Who are their contacts? How can I use that to further the storytelling? Have someone from their past show up to tell them something they needed to know. Or, someone connected to their past. Like someone they've never met in a city they've never been to, but who happens to belong to an organization that they have contact with. Or a history with.
Yep. Yeah, when we play... One second. Excuse me. When we play, I keep your character sheets up in D&D Beyond. I do this for several reasons. One, I keep track of your hit points. I want to know where you're at, Two, I keep track of your ability scores, especially your passive scores. Because I'm over here making rolls against your passive scores a lot. But I also look at your backgrounds and things of that nature and see, this will come in here. This is nice here. So, yeah, definitely. Knowing your characters, knowing the characters. Like, I don't memorize every one of your spells or any of that. I will check to make sure that you all have spells on your spell list if you're going to use them. That's just, because I want to read. I need to read what the spell does anyway, just to make sure. But knowing your characters is what allows you to interact with them at a better level. You know, knowing that, and while the street urchin thing hasn't come into play yet, and it may not come into play, but like knowing that Ellie is an urchin, I know that right off the bat, if you guys go into a city, navigation is going to be simple. So I don't have to make you make perception checks constantly or investigation checks or things of that nature. But like I know how to make Karak angry. I know how to make Dandy sad. I know how to intrigue Tosh. Like, I know how to interact with these characters because I've studied the character sheets. And then as you play and bring these characters to life, I take notes. Like, I take notes of a lot of shit. It's... I need to hire a personal scribe to take notes for me and organize them because, organization sucks on ADHD. But.
Absolutely. Yeah, and when you're going to run a game, I think like for the game I'm about to run, I DM'd with each of my players and got a feel for what your character looks like, how your character would fit with the group, basically. Why you might get hired for a job. And in doing that, I got a feel for sort of how you see your character. In fact, only one of you had not gotten me that information. And then last night, I was finally like, okay, tell me, how do you see your character, and was able to then, figure out how they got here and how they fit. And that led me to do some more world building, which is part of why I didn't get as much sleep as I should have last night. But
it happens. All I can say is, after all the times you drop shit, and at 3 o'clock in the morning I wake up going, this would be a great fucking story.
Yeah, well, hey kids, you want to watch me do it again? Hey Tyr, you know how you said if we had failed to stop the monsters, that we'd have to start a new campaign and it would be post-apocalyptic?
Yes.
You could run that as a variant timeline campaign at some point and let us. So is there something you'd like to call me? I don't.
I'm not going to fucking give you the satisfaction. No. Honestly, I've been thinking about that. Like, even if you guys succeed and we decide, instead of continuing with these characters to do something different, I think it would be great to do a variant timeline where the party failed and it is post-apocalyptic. I even bought the apocalyptic module that you and I had discussed. I need to read it. I got to get time to read shit. Need to learn to read, then I can get time to read shit. But I think that would be awesome to do a post-apocalyptic storyline, because there's a lot of great things that could happen. You bastard. And yeah, guys, I don't know why the exclamation point commands aren't working. I got a couple of theories, but who knows? Uh, I gotta say something. This is completely out of left field, but due to events that happened this past week, Tyr's about to get on his soapbox. Let me dust that sumbitch off.
Go for it.
Okay, I cannot, none of us can monitor every individual that's on social media. So if you're a follower of us on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, and you notice that we're following or we're interacting with a very bad person, for an example, somebody that is a serial abuser or something like that, let us know. I can't monitor everybody's shit. I don't know everybody's private life, but if there's facts to back up that someone is an asshole, let me know so I can unfollow and block them people. There was a big dust up on social media about an individual that had a history of multiple people coming forth and admitting that they had been victimized by this individual, and it turned out I was following them. And I was like, oh, this is not good. So, first, don't be an asshole, people. And second, if people are being assholes and we're interacting with these individuals, let us know so we can stop that, because we don't want to be associated with assholes. We want our space to be a safe space. When we say love and inclusion, we believe in love and inclusion. And I tell you now, and we have not had any incidents, I'm just saying this out there, we are LGBTQ friendly. Hell, most of the cast is part of LGBTQ. So, if you come sideways at me with that, you're going to open up a box you don't want to. Nobody has yet. I'm just putting this out there because I've been seeing a lot of shit on social media, people being nasty, and you don't want to open that box.
Yeah, like, if I'm following someone who's a transphobe, somebody let me know. If I'm following somebody who, is anti whatever, like, is racist, is sexist, is, misogynist, bigotist. It's not a word, but we're going to go with it because it fit the theme. I want to know about it so that I can kick them the hell out of my life. I don't need that shit. But yeah, like Tyr said, we can't, I try to follow back when someone follows me. I try to follow back just, because it seems the nice thing to do. It seems, and I don't know everyone that I'm following. I couldn't possibly. So if I'm following someone who's problematic, please let me know. And don't just say, hey, this person is problematic. Just, I will believe you. I just, point me towards some evidence that I can see so that, I can go and make a judgment on on that person.
And, yeah, the last thing I'm going to say is victim shaming is not okay.
Mm-mm.
And don't ever let me catch you do it. And now I'll get off my soapbox and we'll return to your regularly scheduled programming. But Tyr had that on his mind and had to say, don't let me fucking catch you do it. All right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give me some more detail on this because I have no way. I have not. I barely look at Twitter. I look at Twitter to do social media promotion shit, and then I forget to look at Twitter the rest of the week.
Well,
there are a couple people that I follow that when something pops up in my notifications that tells me they've tweeted, I'll pop over and look to see what they tweeted. I will tell you not for nothing that mostly that the person that will draw me to go look at Twitter is Erika Ishii because I have a massive crush on her. So that's just,
Have you seen the dropout campaign where she's in?
I have not gotten to see that yet. No. I made it. I haven't even finished. What was it? L.A. by Night. I'm
I'm
near the
behind
end
it.
of it. But,
I'm behind on LA by Night, but they did a 4-part Kids on Brooms that she was in, and then they did another one. If you've seen Fantasy High, yeah, I don't
I've
know if
seen
you've
some
seen.
of that. I've seen a
Okay.
bit of that.
Well, it's the story of the 7 maidens that get kidnapped and how they form their own group, and
Uh huh.
she's in it, and she is amazing. I
I know she was
absolutely,
in one on Dimension 20 called Misfits of Magic.
yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Okay,
That's one
I've
of
I've
them.
seen some clips from that one, and I really want to see it.
Oh, she's so good in that. I love
Yeah,
Erica Ishii. Like, yes.
yeah.
Yes, please.
Um, I have started maining her character in Apex Legends. I'm just saying, like, I mean, Bloodhound will always be. I don't know if you guys can. You can't really this uh this back here, this black postery thing that you can barely see behind me. That is a Bloodhound piece of artwork. I love them. They are one of my favorite characters. They were my main for a long time. Um, I still play them as they're my regular second right now, but I have been loving Erika Ishii's Valkyrie character in Apex. Um, she's also the most tied. That character's the most tied back to Titanfall, which I love and adore. So
Love Titanfall.
I bought when Titanfall 2 came out. I bought the big collector's box. I have the Titan pilot helmet with all the lights and electronics in it. Um,
I hate you.
yeah, and I've got a 3D printed data knife,
I have one of those.
ice pick, and oh wait, I have a wingman.
Oh, nice.
It does the reload there. You can see the yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I'm working on 3D printing a helmet and a wingman. I just gotta get my 3D printer running again. Um,
yeah.
it died this week. Ustad's supposed to come look at it. Unfortunately, I am very limited to what I can do because I can only do shit with one arm because I have a broke elbow and possible rotator cuff tear. So, yay! But yes, I love Erika Ishii.
Yes. Um, and for anyone wondering why I just happen to have a wingman blaster sitting at my desk, it's because I'm kind of surrounded by blasters at my desk. I might have a small problem. I love me uh, uh, some prop guns from science fiction. Um,
Ustad made you a blaster, didn't he?
he did. All right. I'm loath to show it on camera because I don't want his son to be mad at me. He's not going to be mad at me, but I
No,
do have to fix it.
you're his man crush. He's not gonna be mad.
So here's my blaster that Ustad made me. Ustad might notice that it does not have the scope on it. That's because the scope popped off in transit while it was in my suitcase coming home from Ohio. So uh, I haven't found where I hid my super glue from myself so that I can fix the so I can reattach the scope properly. Um, but yeah, no, I love that blaster. I absolutely love it. It's great. Um, it joins my collection of. All right, so him making that for me meant that I didn't have to do the work of trying to paint the crappy toy one that I have that I've been thinking about that someone gave me, which is this one. It's a crappy hollow plastic one. So yeah, that's. I also have Django Fets down there.
Nice.
Those are the only ones I have at the desk. Um, I have a Battlestar Galactica Season 1 pistol across the room, and I've got a set of Equilibrium Graviton Cleric guns in the
Nice.
bedroom.
Nice. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our break. I need caffeine.
Yeah, I'm running a bit low. I'll bring more guns back on the break. Because apparently Black Dragon wants a show and tell.
All right, we'll be back.
And then has a question. Question. Put any questions about plot things in chat, and we'll talk about them.
Yes. We'll be back in 10 minutes, guys. back. Thank you so much for hanging out while we took our break to get our snickety snacks, our beverages of choice, and handle things that we needed to handle. Today we're kind of talking about storytelling devices, plot hooks, plot twists, and that sort of thing. We're also talking about Locke's gun collection, his replicas
My
from...
my my replica blaster collection. Let's be fair. Like I I do enjoy real guns, but I'm not breaking out real guns on the channel. That's
No. His replica blaster collection.
Real quick show and tell. So you all saw the lovely DL-44 Han Solo blaster that Ustad made for me, and then you saw the cheap plastic orange and white one that I have of that same gun. I also have the Nerf version of Han Solo's blaster, which is a little bulkier because it's got to house the cartridge for the because it holds 4 shots and it makes the pew pew noise, which I like about it. I also have the cheap plastic, I haven't gotten around to painting it yet, version of Jango Fett's guns. I have 2 of these. They don't do anything special. This is the Battlestar Galactica Season 1 pistol. This one was taken from a mold, from one of the same mold, from a casting of a mold on set. So it's 1 generation removed. It's a copy of a copy, basically. But someone got their hands on one of the cast rubber prop guns that they use on set and took a mold from it and then was selling those. So this is as close as you can get to screen accurate. For one of these, the Season 1 ones are really hard to come by. As mentioned previously, I have my Graviton Cleric guns. These are, I can't remember the name of the company. Something Arsenal. They do cast resin prop weapons from various TV shows and movies. Right, so those there, they're going to slide over. And I could not find my Jane's Lamat revolver, which I have, but I could lay my hands on Mal's pistol from Firefly. So there's my show and tell. Those are all my fun blasters that I can easily get my hands on during the break. Like I said, I've got Jane's Lamat revolver as well, which is actually my personal favorite from Firefly, but I couldn't find it.
Very cool. All right, so Black Dragon is asking for your plot twist characters. How do you decide what they are, who they are? Is there a formula, or do you pluck it at random? Okay, this is how I do it. I start everything at the end and work my way backwards. So when I'm setting up a one-shot or a campaign or whatever, I always ask myself, who's the bad guy? That's the first thing the bad guy or the bad guys. What are they after? What's their motivation? What makes them tick? What are the lengths they're willing to go to? And I start working backwards from there. If I want to throw in a plot twist, major story arc plot twist, as I'm working my way backwards, I think, okay, so we know that these 4 individuals are in league, but this individual, their motivation is, a little bit different. They know that they need certain events to happen, so they're going to help the party. This is a plot twist that I pulled on a party. The Sunday game we were playing, the quarantine players, the individual that helped them the most was the bad guy. But that's how I do it. I start from back and work my way backwards. Now, I don't only throw in plot twists on big story arcs. I'll throw in plot twists on character backstories as well. And it's the same thing. I go through and it's like, okay, you have given me X, Y, and Z, but you forgot to give me A, B, C. You left that open. I'm going to take advantage of it. For example, with Vinfira knew they were a shadow sorcerer. They had shadow magic, but they had no idea how they got it. So that allowed me to work in the plot twist of Gangriella having saved Vinfira's life, but depositing their soul in Vinfira's body, their spirit, to keep from dying themselves. And that's how they was able to save them. And so that made a nice little plot twist and added all kinds of neat little things to add to it. So that's how I do it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm pretty similar. I think of it. I guess the best analogy would be it's a clothesline. My story is a clothesline, so it runs from point A to point B. This is the story, right? It's the through line of the story. So the story tells the events going on in the world that the players are going to interact with, which means the end of the story, the climax of the story, is going to be the BBEG, right? So okay, so you put the BBEG at the end, and then you figure out what he was doing all the way back through the storyline. And then once you sort of have the beats, you don't have to know everything specifically, but you have his beats. Like to get to this point at the end, before that he did this, and then you sort of work backwards, like Tyr said. And then you come along with your characters' backstories on clothespins, and you look for places where in the arc of that thread, when you're following that line, places where it would be interesting. You look at the and you go, oh, this one would be better here, and then that leads us to here, where I can tie this one in, and so on and so forth. And you can rearrange them depending, like at any time. The ones you haven't gotten to yet, you can move that clothespin if you need to. If the story now seems like it would be better for this for this to come into play here, you move that clothespin over. And that's the way I think of it. Like you look for the spot where it would be interesting to tie that in, and then that's where you clip that paper, that clothespin.
Does that make sense, Black Dragon? Does that answer, or did that just make more questions? All right, cool. Any more questions, guys? I mean, we love the interactivity in this show. That's one of the reasons we do it. And you can ask us questions about anything. We will answer anything. So, if you got questions, start ask them. And I have to ask you guys to please forgive me bouncing around a lot today and making the faces and everything. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 20 pain day. So, is there a particular plot device you prefer? I love the plot twist. I'm like the M. Night Shyamalan of D&D. I love for the unexpected. It's my go-to. I don't think that I've ever ran a campaign that didn't have a plot twist. And I like to put a plot twist in the major campaign, and I love putting plot twists in my character and my players, the character backstories. So that's my favorite. What about you, Locke?
I'm a fan of the plot twist. I'm also a fan of the bait and switch. Bait and switch is great for storytelling.
Why don't you tell them what you mean by bait and switch?
Bait and switch would be the villain realizing that they're that someone is is trying to foil their plans. Sets information out into the world that leads the party over here, so that the villain is really doing what they want over here and has distracted the party with this other thing, so they can go do the thing they really wanted to do. That's a bait and switch. So yeah.
Yeah, I like a good bait and switch too. You know,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, my proudest moment is when Mev did not see my plot twist coming.
That's a hard one. Mev had a superpower. It was that we never we couldn't go to him. He just shut up during movies because he didn't want to spoil it for everyone. Because 5 minutes in, he knew what the end was going to be.
So, yeah, so when they messaged me, "You bastard," I was like, feather in my cap. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just wheels were spinning. It's yeah, you done good when you film it. Like we got in. He let slip during M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Like we sat down in the movie. We're like 5 minutes in, and Mev just under his breath, and I guess he didn't realize he said it out loud so that I could hear it. Was like, "This is set today. This is modern times." And I was like, "What?" Fucking was right at the end. Like, he knew 5 minutes into the fucking movie. He knew. I was like, I don't understand how you do that, but it was a superpower. So
I will make a campaign or a one shot or whatever from anything that inspires me, Wise Wolf. So yeah, if someone were to toss out something like you're talking about the mirror world, I could see running a one shot where all the characters were the mirrors of themselves, so they're the exact opposite. I would love to see the exact opposite of Infira, of Karak,
right.
of Zaraj.
I think Karak as an opposite, like mirror Karak, would be very much like a character in like any mirror opposite in Star Trek. Like it'd be the evil version. Karak already has facial hair, otherwise I'd say it'd be Karak with a goatee. It's it would definitely be the conquering hero sort of. That would be the opposite of Karak, I think.
I may have to put together a mini story arc and run it, and we may have to run that on our channel.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You know what's going to happen at 3:00 in the morning? I'm going to wake up going, "Oh my God, this would be great," and start making notes. Because that's usually how it happens.
Oh, by the way, I found the guy that I got my Tetragrammaton Cleric pistols from. Or at least they're using the same molds because it's the same box, it's the same company, but I think they've changed their name because it used to be something Arsenal. And now they're Cool Models, and they sell on eBay. All one word, Cool Models. And you can buy a single resin cast Tetragrammaton Cleric pistol for $35.
Nice.
So yeah, there you go.
I'd have to get me a pair though. That way I can cosplay.
I don't know if they still offer them. When they first came out with them, they offered the pair in one box, and they might still have that box set. I just, you know, I jumped on just to look real quick, and I found them. So yeah, cool models on eBay. They've got 100% positive feedback. I wonder why. They're awesome. They show up at DragonCon every year. They make Blade Runner guns and Hellboy guns and Halo guns and you name it.
But yeah, my crowning moment was pulling one over on Mev. And what had happened is that Zakez, who you all know as a bad guy, showed up as a good guy and was actually Tannen, the character that Mev's playing, prophecy teacher from the Amber Spires Academy of Magic. And was giving them all this information and gave them weapons and everything else. And come to find out, he was playing two sides against each other because of what he was wanting to happen. He had Lilith trying to bring Malekushus into the world, and then had the party trying to stop Lilith so that he could capture Lilith's soul. And it was... The reveal was after the final battle against Lilith. And they had lost a character. They had lost the two characters. I can't remember the name of the one that gave their life to save Tannen now for anything.
Selena,
something like that.
Celine. It was Celine.
Celine,
yes.
yeah. They had lost Celine. Celine had given their life to save Tannen's character, and they had lost Physic, the artificer of the party.
Played by Dan.
Yeah, played by Dan, otherwise known as Garbo. Yeah, I'm Garbo. That's my Garbo impression. Garbo.
It's not a bad Garbo impression.
And so in the aftermath, they're licking their wounds and doing all this stuff. And then, like, I let it wait for a couple of rounds. And suddenly, Zakez shows up with two other known bad guys, does some shit, and disappears, letting them know, hey, y'all just got played. Oh, the amount of you bastards I got that day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that episode was a tearjerker, too. It was just, it was rough. It was rough. It's always rough when you have a married party in the couple and one of them dies. So...
Yeah, I haven't brought too many tearjerker narratives.
Yeah. And when I say a married couple in the party, I don't mean that, like, Mev and I were playing in the same party. I mean that Mev's character and Dan's character got married in game. And so, like, watching one lose the other while trying to, it was rough. It was rough. So,
but yeah,
we got any more questions?
But to answer your question, yes, I will totally do something if someone suggests it to me and it inspires me. No, yeah, Lanta dying, Sarah dying. You got to understand, when we were playing the Sunday game, like, there were several times that I had everybody crying with narration.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not been able to do that, and I don't know why. But it's just not there. I think part of it is because time limits and everything. I'm constantly focused on everything, as well as trying to run the game. That's why I'm going to teach Lollipop to produce, so I can take that off my plate and just focus on being a DM.
Yeah, no, Sarah's death was rough. Wait, which one are we talking about? We killed Sarah twice, guys. So, both were rough, actually. But yeah, this last one, like, we as players we knew what was coming because we knew Lanta was leaving the show. And so we knew what to expect going in. Didn't make it any easier. Didn't make it hurt any less. But we knew what was coming. Probably unlike the audience, but so like yeah, there's a difference between when a character dies, emotionally, and when a character there's a difference between when a character dies and the player is still at the table, and when a character dies because a player is leaving the table. It hits differently. You can sort of rationalize one more so than the other. The other one is much harder to rationalize, and you just have to, and then you have to figure out how you're going to deal with that, because you have to take the players, and it turns into a player leaving the table situation when the player says, "No, I want to try something different." Well, okay, then their death is actually kind of what the player wanted. The player is accepting the death, but it's an interesting, thing in consent, I think, because on the one hand you have what your players would do. You live in a world where the magical means to revive someone exists. Sometimes characters have that power. And, and sometimes they have to go to an NPC to get that kind of thing done. But it exists. Some of those spells you can be dead up to 10 years and brought back. So there's the question, right? Like, how do you play your character and what your character would do, and affirm what the player wants? There's the word. I was looking for the word affirm. Affirm what the player wants. The player has retracted their consent to be brought back, basically. Now you can play that in game using the mechanics, which say the soul has to be willing to come back. And I've seen that played a number of ways. And say the party tries to do this thing, but rather than making the party go through all of that, sometimes it's just easier to sort of hand wave it and metagame a little bit. Like, there's nothing we can do. We can't bring him back. Because we know the player doesn't want to come back as that character. So it's a balancing act. You got to figure out how you want to handle it, what feels right for you and your table.
And it's hard. Look, what people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize, is as a dungeon master, a game master, it hits us hard when a character dies. Whether it's consensual or not, it still hits. It just hits differently when it's something like the player has to leave the game, or the player is just not really feeling the character and wants to play a different character, versus, oh shit, the dice just killed this character. It hits hard, and it's hard to, it's emotional, and it's like we can't, even if we love the character, we can't intervene. Like, oh, the god shows up and, oh, look, you're back to life or whatever. Like, we have to make sure it stays fair. And if the party's out of spell slots or whatever, the party's out of spell slots. If the bad guy took the person's head, the bad guy took the person's head. It's just the way it is. And, like, there are monsters out there that once an enemy falls, they'll ignore them and go for the next standing. But then there's monsters out there that once the enemy falls, they want to make sure. So it gets tricky. It gets real tricky because you're sitting here going, well, fuck, this monster would just keep attacking this body to make sure. And it comes across that you as the DM have something against that character, and you don't. I love all the characters in my game. I'm attached to all of them. But I have to be fair. And, DMs get a lot of shit for being fair because it seems like we're not being fair.
One of the coolest things I ever saw a DM do was the reverse reincarnation. So a player they got killed right at the end of a session, right? And they did not want to be brought back. They wanted to try something new, and so they said they were going to go home and write a new character and give it to the DM, and then we would have to deal with the death and we would get a new character joining the party in the next session. Well, it turns out the person wrote up a new character and brought it in. Completely different class, completely different vibe as a character. But what happened to still match was the gender and race of the character were the same as the old character. So what the DM did was we got into game, and we, being the characters, we're going to try and resurrect our buddy. So we go through the spell, do the hour ritual to raise dead, and the DM decided, well, the spirit wasn't willing, but there was a spirit that was, and had the character sit back up, and then hands the player who had been playing the character that just got killed, hands him his character sheet and says, "You wake up, you're not sure what happened, but you're surrounded by these people. You don't know any." So their new character wound up in their old character's newly raised body. And so it was a weird thing for the party to have to deal with this person that looks just like their friend, but is clearly not their friend. Like, suddenly, this person is a rogue instead of a fighter or whatever. I don't remember what their classes were, but yeah, that's I call that a reverse reincarnation, because you get, instead of getting the same old spirit in a new body, you get a new spirit in the same old body. It was great. It was great. It was a wonderful, like, inter-party tension thing for a while.
Let's see. Ustad says, yeah, I had that too. I started fudging my dice, and after a while I said, fuck that. I'm not pampering my players. It's not fair to the others. Okay, I'm going to talk on something. You've opened up a soapbox.
Here we go.
Bitch off.
Here we go.
Let me get up on it. Now, remember, this is my questionable opinion. It is not official. And if you don't like it, well, you know what you can do. There is nothing wrong with a DM fudging dice rolls, as long as it goes both ways. There are times that I will fudge the dice rolls to keep players from getting hit, because this is just going to be it. There are times that I will fudge dice rolls to hit the players, to make the combat more intense, more dramatic in the moment. There are times that I will intentionally fail a saving throw on a monster or a person because I want to see what happens. So it goes both ways, but there is nothing wrong with it. The premise of this is that we're telling a story, and sometimes you have to step outside of the rules, which are more than guidelines, actually. But you have to step outside of the rules in order to tell a compelling story.
Yeah, absolutely, 1000%. I am fully on board with DMs fudging dice rolls because sometimes you really need the character to get to point B. You know, you need them to get there, and sometimes their rolls just aren't going to get them there. And rather than throw out that adventure and try something different, try a different approach to get them to B, sometimes you just go, that roll was good enough. I'm going to let you have it. But what you should never do as a DM is don't be the antagonistic DM. Don't be DM versus players. Don't fudge dice rolls to make to hurt the party. Do it to help the story, but don't do it just to hurt the party, just to show that you're better than them or cooler than them or whatever. It's not player versus DM.
No, it's not.
We're all in this together. So
And that being said, I will never fake a nat 20. If it's a nat 20, it's a nat 20. Whether I wanted it to be a nat 20, whether I didn't want it to be a nat 20. If it's a crit, it's a crit. I will never fudge a nat 20. And so when you hear me say nat 20, I rolled a nat 20. And I'm like, holy fuck, I rolled a nat 20 because I'm excited because I roll like shit when I'm a DM.
So yeah, that's don't be that guy. Don't
be a dick.
Don't attack. Don't be antagonistic towards your players for adversary's sake. You're not. It's not you versus them. You're not trying to win D&D. There's no winning D&D unless you all win together. So, fudging rolls in service of the story is fine. Fudging rolls in service of your ego is not fine. The Wheaton constant. Don't be a dick.
Perfect example. So, those of you that have watched the latest DQSR and Sounds of Oblivion have saw the introduction of a new monster I created called the Number of X. They are basically 4-armed shadow werewolves that are on the hunt for something or someone. Nobody knows yet. Both battles seemed like the party just wiped right through them. Like there was no threat whatsoever. And both battles were completely above board. I didn't feel the need to fudge the rolls to make the combat more intense. I didn't, or anything like that, because these are hunters. That's what they are. They're not made to be uber powerful. They need to be a little bit more challenging. So I did make a few little tweaks, nothing breaking about them. But I know DMs, I personally know DMs that would have fudged the fuck out of the rolls because this is their monster and it should do more damage. And it does what it does. It has a purpose and it's living that purpose. So.
Yeah, so, that's those it may seem like we steamrolled those monsters, but we got really lucky on our on our Constitution saving throws, because if more than one of us took a wound that wouldn't heal, that is a real danger. That is something like. That is a hard outcome for the party. So those creatures are insidious and vicious, and so no, they're very, very dangerous. We just got lucky both times we fought them, because both nights we had really good saving throw rolls. We only had one person in 2 nights fail a save for their bite. So, we got lucky, but that's not going to hold every time we fight them. We're going to have a bad night where everyone rolls poorly, and suddenly we're all bit, and all, suffering the effects. So, like, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and it's great to test out new monsters. Sometimes you build a new monster that's overpowered, and you have to start fudging your rolls because you built it too good.
Yeah.
The party can't overcome it. And that's not a fault in the story. It's like there's sometimes in the story where you throw a monster at them that they should be able to handle, and for whatever reason they're getting their asses kicked. Well, that's kind of on them. But when you make a new monster that's unplay tested and you throw it at them and they start getting their ass kicked, you have to as a DM, I think, choose to soften that, because it could just be that they're having a bad night and they're getting their asses kicked, or it could be that I built it too powerful and you don't want to kill them because you built it wrong.
Right.
So
I've actually been warring with that because I created a special fiend, the Shadow Fiend. I talked about this on one of the Cast Items episodes. And everybody's like, well, instead of doing level damage, it should do exhaustion because it'd be easier. Well, here's the thing about exhaustion. If it does 1d3 points of something, and let's say I keep it at that, it could kill you if it recharges. 6 points of exhaustion is death.
Yes.
So I'm going to have it do exhaustion, but I'm having it do 2 points of exhaustion, and its legendary action recharges on a 5 or a 6.
That seems fair. Yeah, it's yeah, I'm glad of that, because I went and looked. There is no mechanic for level loss in 5th edition. They did not include that. There are no monsters that do level draining damage anymore.
No.
So it's not a mechanic that exists. So it was going to be difficult to implement. We're we only got about 20 minutes left. So do you mind if I do the thing?
Do the thing.
So if anybody has any questions about my campaign world or my homebrew world that we will be running the one-shot in, please feel free to ask them in the chat. I'm going to give a bit of an overview. So my world is an analog world. I wanted to set things in sort of the political climate of our world during the Cold War. So I've got 2 superpowers on the main continent that are basically analogs for the U.S. and Russia, with most of Europe stuck in between them, literally. There are and the big principal issue of the world is dragons. Like, it is the dividing factor of the world. The elves hate dragons and want all of the dragons dead. And so elves are the equivalent come from the equivalent of Great Britain, and are on the western side, and they run on vaguely a capitalist model, which is the magical, wealthy elite sort of run everything. And then on the communist side of the table, you have people that, before the Great War, worshipped dragons. They donated wealth to the dragon's horde for the dragon's blessings upon the people, and upon their village or city or whatever. And the elves thought that these people were backwards and went on an exterminating spree, caused a great war over whether or not dragons should be allowed to live. They kicked the drow out because the drow wanted dragons to live, and the drow wound up in the equivalent of Australia.
But it's still fantasy setting, right? I mean,
Still a fantasy set, absolutely high fantasy, like standard D&D world setting. But the world has had one great war, and that war was over dragons. Dragons do not exist on the main continent anymore. They do still exist on the other continent, which is Africa, India, the Middle East. And then and they exist in Asia. There's a chain of islands, a large chain of islands that dragons still exist there as well. But they do, but they're in small numbers in those places because the elves have gone out and hunted. Elves and their allies have gone out and hunted the dragons down, and most dragons aren't around anymore. But there are a lot of people on the eastern side of the continent that still believe in the old ways, still revere dragons, and still practice sort of that communal living system where they pool their wealth, hoping that a dragon will come and bless them. And yeah, that's basically the overshot of my world that we're going to be playing in. We're going to be running a heist game. So if anybody has any questions about anything in my world, feel free to ask, and I'll answer as best I can.
oh my God, I'm sorry, but Kawhi's here. Kawhi Tornado. Oh my God. Hi. For you that don't know, Kawhi Tornado makes a lot of our battle maps. I make a few, none as good as theirs. Oh my God.
Kawhi makes awesome battle maps. They are absolutely fucking gorgeous.
It is so good to see you. Oh my God. Thank you for joining. You missed all of our good rants and shit, but yay.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I thought it was. Yeah, go ahead and ask any questions you have about my world. I'll just vamp about it for a minute, and while we wait for questions to come in. Yeah, so I've sort of assigned each race an ancestral homeland. Vaguely, the world has advanced far enough that there isn't a place like that people. You don't go to a country or a kingdom and it's all one ethnicity anymore. It doesn't happen. They're still heavily, populated in their homelands. Like, Drow and Tiefling are mostly from Australia. I haven't named all the places yet. The Dragonborn are all from Africa. Gnomes and Halflings are sort of the Middle East. Loxodons and Yanti are from India, and Asia are all orcs. Because I thought it was cool to have orcs in samurai armor, and and as like Chinese mystics and monks, that seemed cool for me.
You have a question?
I do. I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, sumo orcs. Oh my God.
You say heist as in the party has to steal something from Ustad.
Ah, there we go. Yes. Yes. The party has to steal some things. They are being hired by a very wealthy individual to. Well, the episode title tells you that they're going to a gala where a lot of very wealthy people are going to be. A lot of very important people politically in the world are going to be. And and they are there to steal something incredibly valuable for their patron, who is offering them very large sums of cash and other items in order to do so. Yeah, so that's the plot, and there are five. As I said, there are 5 episodes set in this world that I have vaguely outlined. And I'm curious to see if the party makes it. If we make it to episode 5 without them seriously derailing things,
Yeah.
then episode 5 will either be all combat, or it will be no combat at all. And that I love that is how it could go. Like, episode 5 could just be us talking.
Have you met these people?
Yeah, but no, I'm like, no, like, episode 5, like, things could start to happen at the beginning of episode 5, and you guys go, yeah, cool. And then we spend some time talking about what the world looks like after. Like, that's just as interesting to me as you guys running through a giant combat.
Plus, I'm at your table.
Yeah, it means you're going to screw up my timeline. It's fine. I have contingencies upon contingencies, my friend.
You can't plan for Tyr. No one can plan for Tyr.
Yeah, except that well, I don't want to say that because I feel like I'm baiting you if I say it. Like, I'm asking you to do shit if I say it. But I was going to say, yeah, but you made yourself the character that is dependable. Just remember that you did that.
I did do that.
You did that.
That doesn't mean I can't fuck things.
I didn't say you can't fuck things, but you're also the dependable one.
I made my character dependable, but he's not very smart.
And that's fine. Yeah, I really hope it all goes well, and I hope everyone likes the ending that I've got planned for Sunday night, because I'm extremely proud of how the adventure ends, assuming that everything goes to plan. Heck, even if you guys screw it up, as long there's only one thing that needs to happen for me to have my planned ending. It's just where you get to watch the ending from. It could be very different if you guys screw up too hard.
But yeah, Kawhi, so what's happened is that I'm on call every 4 weeks now. And so when I'm on call, what we do is, because it runs midnight to midnight, Sunday to Sunday, so I'll run Saturday night's game until midnight, and we'll end, call it a short session. Sunday night, Loch will be running his one shot. I'll be playing, but if I get a call, I'll have to drop. And so this way, people still get content. People still get, to come hang out with us. And we don't have to miss a week or 2 weeks actually, because of work. Because this Sunday, the 23rd, in just a couple of days, Locke will be running the gala job one shot, and that's what we've been discussing. And of course, for those of you like Kawhi that are in time zones where they can't watch because they won't stay up and sacrifice sleep, just kidding, Kawhi. It will be on Patreon, it will be on YouTube, and it'll be on Podbean. So you will be able to see all Locke in his glorious DM goodness.
Hopefully. Don't put that much pressure on me, man. This is my first time running a campaign on stream. Thank you, Kawhi, so much. I didn't want to hit you up for this one because I was on a very short turnaround. For this, Tyr made me a lovely map that we will be using for the one scene that I could think of. That's probably that having a map is probably going to be best. Everything else we're going to do theater of the mind, but I already know what the next episode of my thing is. So yeah, I might hit you up for a map or two for episode 2 in my world. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much.
So, Wise Wolf, the question came up if dates and times. So, what's happening right now is that we're rotating out who's running one shots. So, this was Locke's turn. Locke got Saturday, or Sunday. Ren got next Saturday. Then it'll be Alice is the next one, and then that'll be everybody has ran a one shot. So then they can decide amongst themselves. So it's not, there's no scheduled, here's where these one shots are going to be running yet. Although that would be something good to do.
Oh yeah, we the next time we have a meeting of the crew, we can.
I'll go through and get my dates, and then we'll go through and solidify.
Oh, we should point out it's everybody but John will have run.
Oh,
John's getting a pass right now because John has a newborn and a teething baby is hard enough to deal with, and they're moving. They're in the process of moving houses, so he's packing and all that. He's going to be gone for a couple of weeks. So John has gotten a pass right now on having to run a game for us as a one shot. I'm sure John will take a turn when John is settled in his new place. But until then, you get us. And like I said, knowing in advance that this is going to be a recurring thing that has to happen. When I started writing my adventure, I wrote 5 adventures instead of 1. Or at least I outlined 5 adventures. I wrote 1 adventure. I have episode 2 fairly solidified, and then they get broader and broader as you go down the line. But yeah, so that's and here's the thing: my 5 episodes, just so you all know, because they're criminal activity. It is not necessary that the same players with the same characters play in all 5 of my episodes. The crew can change from episode to episode, and the audience will still get the full story arc, even if the players don't. The audience will get to see the whole story. The players, however, the characters, I should say, may be different and have different reactions. Well, you don't know. But each episode is its own capsule. But it advances the plot to the next episode, to the next heist that has to happen.
All right, guys. Any more questions before we get out of here? Our time is almost up.
We are so glad to see you too, Kawhi.
Oh, speaking of which, I'm going to put you on blast, Kawhi. You need to get me dates and times for your one shot so that I can get that arranged. Yeah, I ran a one shot for Kawhi and some of their friends, and apparently they wanted me to do it again. And since they make, since Kawhi makes our awesome battle maps, definitely willing to throw down some DM time. I'm addictive. That's what they say. It's the voice.
Yeah, the huggability ain't bad either.
I am huggable. I'm huggable as fuck. I'm a big old snuggly. Yeah, you can find Kawhi on Twitter, Ustad. The Twitters. As Locke calls it, the Twitter patients. All right, I think that's where we're going to call it for today because I don't think I can sit up any longer, and we're almost out of time. Locke, thank you so much for talking about your world, and I can't wait to play in your one shot. I know you're going to do awesome as a DM.
It's
What?
it's just figuring out the whole like doing it on stream, which means that you have your adventure is a very limited time scope. You have to fill 3+ hours, but you can't go over 4. So like you've got to. I applaud you for what you do every week.
Thank you.
It might be easier with a longer campaign because you can cut off somewhere and go, well, we'll pick this up next week. With a one shot, you can't do that.
It's not easier.
With a one shot, this is what happens, and if we don't fill the time, or if you burn through my adventure too quickly or too slowly, I'm going to be ripping things off the page, tossing them out on the spot.
Yeah,
I think I have built more encounters than I need at this point.
it's nice from a campaign standpoint of I can always pick up, but you have to know where to leave off. Like, I don't want to leave off in the middle of combat, especially if it's almost at the end of combat and things like that. So it's time management is tricky. It is very tricky. But I'm looking forward to playing. And what they don't know, folks, is that the other reason that I have done these one shots is this way. If I ever have to leave, I get to pick my replacement based on how well they did. So no pressure.
No. I'm throwing this one right in the toilet. Then that's how that's happening. I mean, the shittiest one shot ever because I don't want to replace you.
All right, let's remind people who we are, where they can find us, and let's get the hell out of here.
Hi, gamers. I'm still Loch Clark, and you can find me you can find me DMing our stream this Sunday. God. And come 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and check out my first time DMing on stream and what my world looks like. I hope you all enjoy it. And you can also find me on the Book of Faces and the Twitter Patients at Loch Unruly. That's Loch with an H.
And I'm Tyr the DM. I'm the world's okayest DM. All I got is I gotta put Clive on blast one more time here. I know that tomorrow is a really, really short deadline, but by next week, if I said the words "Beware the Candy Cavern Mountain, where the Jabberwocky roams," that's where the King of Candy calls home. Does that inspire? Because I can get to Jabberwocky. I got the Jabberwocky lair, but the Candy King lair I'm having trouble with. So just something to think about. Well, actually, it'd be 2 weeks because I'm not DMing next week. Ren is. So we love you, Kawhi. We love you much. But yeah, I'm Tyr the DM. I am the world's okayest DM, and you can find me on Twitter at Tyr_the_DM. Remember that we do have a new Twitch channel that we will be starting to put stuff up on, twitch.tv/Will of the Dice. So make sure you go and follow that so you get notified because we're going to be doing one shots and stuff. And it's hard to say what will show up there, but we are working on getting the channel up and running. Get more content out to you guys. So remember that if you can afford it and want to support us, Patreon, they get all kinds of exclusive shit, including merchandise giveaways once a month. And you can find us on patreon.com/WOT Dice.
And we do an after the rolls show for each episode. We're just like a half an hour or so of us just talking about moments in the episode, sort of interviewing each other. So head over to Patreon, you get that content. You also, the podcast drops a couple days early over there. So check it out.
Also, check out our merchandise. I giggle every time now that I talk about our merchandise because the awesome shirt that is mine, the character art, the DM is like this. And someone bought one of my shirts, sent me a picture of them, and goes, "Look, you're grabbing my breasts." And that's all I think about. All right. But yeah, so remember, guys, that if someone doesn't know, don't cast aspersions, cast guidance. We will see you next time. Love you guys.